Well, good morning, good morning. I don't feel super prepared this morning, but I'm here and I'm happy to be here. How are you guys? How are you guys? I am working on learning how to do this. I'm going to try something new today. I'm going to try to stream this into a couple of different groups, and so hopefully this will work. I am excited to be here. I will be here for the next hour, and I would love to hear from you guys. So it is Saturday. Can you believe it's Saturday? It has been a very busy week for me. I will get onto some topics here in a couple of minutes, but I just need to find a piece of paper. Haha. There we go. I got my piece of paper. I am excited. It's been a good week. It's been very good week. I hope you guys have had a good week. It is Saturday, May the 15th, I think it is, and my week has been very busy. I don't think I am having success with my Facebook group thing here. I need to see what's going on. I think something's wrong, but that's okay because I can't see anybody out there. There we go. Now I see someone. Good morning. I had a super busy week. My youngest daughter. I have two daughters. I have a daughter by the name of Suzette, who is married and she lives in Tennessee, and I have a daughter by the name of Estelle, who lives with us still. Just for another couple weeks, actually. She is moving to Tulsa, Oklahoma. She just graduated college. She got her nursing degree on Tuesday, and that was super exciting in my life. But it also meant that I wasn't able to meet some of my obligations earlier this week because her sister's car broke down, and so we had to help her. So this is the Baffled Brain, Demystifying Dementia, and I am here this morning on May the 15th to answer questions for you guys. I have a couple things planned. I have a couple questions if I can find my glasses. There we go. I have a couple things planned, but here is my normal little introduction. Since dementia is complex and managing challenging behaviors is time consuming, we know at the Baffled Brain that finding reliable information quickly can be difficult. Therefore, our weekly hour-long Facebook Live brings you an accessible place to ask your dementia-related questions, because providing caregivers like you actionable strategies and reliable information gives people with dementia their best quality of life, as well as delaying their decline and decreasing caregiver burnout. So this is May the 15th, and my name is Lizette Kluta. I'm an occupational therapist, and I will be your host for the next hour. I excuse me, I invite you guys to actually ask me questions. That's why I'm here. I have some handy dandy questions prepared, but I do this for you. I do this for the people who are on live watching, to be able to actually see if you have questions that I can answer. I don't know everything. If I don't know the answer to the question, I will actually say I don't know the answer to the question. That happens. I do have almost 30 years of experience as an occupational therapist working with people with dementia and their families. And so I'm going to start with a little story this morning. Two stories, actually, instead of questions. We'll do it a little bit differently. I value your time. I value everything you guys do for me, and you do a lot for me. I learn so much from you guys too. But somebody who watches relatively frequently actually messaged me privately this past week, and it was such a sweet I don't even know what to call it. It was such a sweet message, such a sweet testimony. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's actually pretty long, but I wanted to say thank you to them. They encouraged me so much, because I do this for you guys, but I need feedback too every now and then, to know that you guys are actually enjoying this, or that you get benefit from this. And what they told me was that they watched. I have two groups. Where I do this in two groups. I do this in this group, and then I do another one called Dementia Made Simple in my own private Facebook group called Think Different Dementia. Lots of words with dementia in, right? And so he listened to my program called Dementia Made Simple in my other group this week, and he mentioned to me that it was a great discussion on UTIs, so if you're interested in watching it, let me know and I can send it to you. He wanted to pass on some feedback on the implementation of some of the strategies that I have provided him. He did not want to post it in the group, but he gave me permission to give people some feedback. One of the strategies that he has implemented is what I call routine is your friend, right? I say this to everybody all the time. And if you listen to this program a little bit frequently, you will hear I say a lot of the same things over and over again, because a lot of the strategies you use with people with dementia, you use over and over again. And one of the things that you do, that you have to do if you're taking care of somebody who has dementia, is keeping them in a very structured routine. So he put he started to get his wife, I think his original question had to do with incontinence and managing incontinence, right? And so he put her on a timed voiding schedule. He started taking her to the bathroom. Instead of just assuming that she wasn't engaged in her environment anymore, he actually re-engaged her in her environment, and it took about a month. And that is another thing I say over and over again. If you have changes in your routine, it's going to take about a month for the person to get back into a normal routine. So what this person had done was start to actually take her to the bathroom. Frequently throughout the day, he got her up, he walked her to the bathroom because she had been sleeping. She was just sitting in the recliner sleeping the whole time. So what he started to do was, he said, I had fallen into the trap of allowing my wife to sit all day and catnap. Consequently, she became more and more unstable on her feet, right? Well, that happens a lot too. Because they're not people with dementia need to be active, they need to move. As they start to have trouble with their thinking, their balance is impaired, all sorts of other things will start to happen. And then she would wet her brief and it would overflow, and all sorts of bladder issues. He started insisting that he was going to take her to the bathroom every time she needed to go. And first he used a walker, and then I can't even English today. Later she started using her cane, and lo and behold, guess what? She started to become stronger. Her balance started to be better. And after about 4 weeks, she is now walking to the bathroom and is much more stable on her feet. He watches her, but he lets her get up. And then the second thing that he noticed is that she started to become more cooperative and vastly improved their relationship just because he started re-engaging her in living. We assume people with dementia are unable to do things, right? And I say this is one of the other things I say a lot, right? People with dementia, what's the difference with somebody like me who's an occupational therapist, and we go in and we're able to say, boom, this is where they function. We get on their levels of ability pretty quickly. Family members or family care providers either overestimate the person with dementia's ability to function and causes a gap and frustration, or they underestimate the person with dementia's ability to function and cause a gap and a frustration. Well, this particular person was underestimating what his wife could do. He's she was here and he thought she's here. And instead of walking alongside her, which he is now doing, he was underestimating what she was able to do. Hey, Eunice, welcome. Thank you for throwing a comment out there. Makes me know that you guys can see and hear me. And so what he started to do was we assume that the person with dementia is not able to do things, and then we don't engage them. They sometimes, because of their dementia, have lost the ability to initiate doing things on their own. It's not that they cannot do things, it's that they cannot initiate doing things, and there's a big difference between that. And so he started to work with her on helping her initiate doing things. And so what he said happened was it increased their relationship, and it made her more cooperative just because he was initiating things for her. And so he started giving her her medication one pill at a time and explaining the purpose of each. And he says even though it was time consuming, and here's the thing, right? Yes, engaging your loved one is time consuming, but it will significantly change your relationship. And that's one of the things that I believe we can do. It may be more time consuming, but it can actually save time later on because they're not having challenging behaviors come out. And so what happened while he started to explain to her her medication, it seemed to convey to her that he cared about her. And that led to something else. And that was that she started to be able to take care of herself again. She was more interested in starting to take a shower and to bathe and to take care of herself for him. So he took her out to Ruby Tuesdays and it went well. They took her to the doctor. She asked him to give her her shower chair so that she could take a shower. She undressed, she took her shower with his supervision and with his help, and that has vastly increased their ability to be able to have a relationship as a husband and a wife again. And so what he also said is, this affirms what you said about the importance of human touch and interaction. We allow our loved ones with dementia frequently to we just assume that they're not there, and they are still there. They are still there. They absolutely are. He says, I have learned how important it is to treat my wife as a cherished spouse. And this was what gave me warm and fuzzies and cold chills, right? As a cherished spouse and not a dementia patient. I feel like our relationship has been turned back many years to happier times. Thank you for your input. He also has gotten some in-home occupational therapy, which is what I am, to work on her balance and strength and self-care skills. So thank you so much. I so enjoyed this. Hey Lizzie, I have your question here. So I just wanted to say, when you guys give me feedback regarding what it is that I do and how I help you, it really does make my day. I do read these things, and if you guys don't know me, my name is Lizette Klute, OT. That's one way you can get a hold of me. The second way you can get a hold of me is you can join Think Different Dementia, which is my private Facebook group where I do a second one of these programs, typically on a Tuesday evening, which is a little bit more educational based. This program is for you guys to ask me questions. I can see there are about 5 people out there. I do take some questions on the live stream, but I wanted to start this morning with a testimonial because he made my day. Lizzie had a question, and what I had said earlier on in the program was that if I don't know the answer to the question, I will actually tell you guys I don't know the answer the answer to the question. So Lizzie said, and Lizzie, I get to know you guys on this. Lizzie's mom, I think it was mom, passed away. Could have been dad. Anyway, Lizzie's loved one passed away within the last probably 2 to 3 months. And she had, oh, it was Mom. I have a question. As you know, Mom passed away on the 26th of February this year, which has been about 2 to 3 months. It's been very hard for her. And she said, I would like to ask a question. The day before Mom died, under her throat on the right side was swollen up, and the next day, under the throat on the left side was swollen. Do I know why they swell up like that? And she says, even at the funeral, they were still swollen. Nobody has given me a reason except to say her body was fighting itself. It was like the glands when you get a sore throat. If I could help her, she would appreciate it. She says she was very fond of her mom and she feels very lost without her. And so have I seen this before or have I heard about this before? So Lizzie, I honestly don't know. Oops, there was a thing in the way. I honestly don't know. I can tell you that I work more on the pre actively dying phase of people's life. I work a lot with people in transitioning from habilitation to hospice care. I just helped a family with that this past week. But in the actual actively dying phase, I am not typically working with people anymore in that phase. So I honestly do not know. Having said that, though, what seems to me, just from my background and my knowledge of the body, what seems to me make sense is this was just her body shutting down. Our bodies are all different, but as systems start to shut down as we're passing away, there are different things that can happen. And so whoops, I just put my cell phone on actively. So what I would say to you is I think that she probably just had something going on. It could have been an infection. It could have been just her own body just starting to shut down. And really, it doesn't matter what caused it. As we're passing away, as we're actively dying, multiple systems start to what's the word? Shut down, right? So we stop eating and drinking. Our kidneys start to shut down. We're unable to swallow. We have all of these things happen, and then we pass away. I know that it was a very difficult thing for you when your mom passed away. I can tell you that I know that you did a wonderful job with her. You took such good care of her. Now you need to take care of yourself. You need to start to work on some self-care strategies. If you are still struggling, it can take years to entirely go through the grief process, Lizzie. So don't feel bad that you're not over it. Don't feel bad about it at all. What you need to do is start to take care of yourself. Make sure that you're sleeping properly. If you're not sleeping properly, maybe start to look at some things like some healthy supplements to help you sleep a little bit better. Things like tryptophan, things like melatonin, even though you got to be careful not to take too much melatonin. You can get a lamp to help you with transitioning over to sleeping better at night. You need to exercise. You need to look at your stress levels in the rest of your life. All of these things to start to working on getting yourself healthy. I am not a significant proponent of medication. I believe that if we do some healthy strategies that we can work on depression. However, I do feel that medication for depression in a situation of an acute stressor like the death of a parent, I do feel that an acute episode of medication immediately afterwards could be very helpful to you. So you could talk to your doctor and see if you're not on a medication that you could maybe take a medication. I'm going to see if I can do this quickly. Because I sometimes can and I sometimes cannot while I'm busy doing my program, but there's a PHQ9. There's a patient health questionnaire called the PHQ-9, and I am going to drop that in the comments real quick. This is a self-questionnaire for you to be able to determine whether or not you have depression. So Lizzie, what I would recommend is you go ahead and you do the self-questionnaire and see if that helps you to be able to determine whether you right now need to be on medication or not. Anybody who is watching this, you can do this for yourselves as well. Eunice said, "Hey Lizette, why do a loved one start to be scared that they will fall under supervision?" That is a great question, Eunice. That is a very good question. And I believe the person that, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the person that you are helping right now has both dementia and Parkinson's disease, correct? And so let's talk about that for a little bit. So one of the later, and we talk about this a lot, right? I use the functional assessment staging tool a lot. So the functional assessment staging tool is a model of retrogenesis. Okay, what does that mean? Retrogenesis is back to the beginning. Back, Genesis, the beginning. So let's say, why is it a retrogenesis model? Well, because it goes back to the beginning. So when a person is born, we all follow significantly similar to an extent, right? Developmental processes. We're born, the first thing that we can do is open our eyes, we cry, we breathe. Good morning, Gina. We breathe, we have all of this stuff going on, right? We learn to suck and swallow. That's the first thing we do. Mom feeds us. We can suck and swallow. We can cry to let people know we're uncomfortable. We have no bowel or bladder control. We start to develop. We can roll side to side. We get on our belly. We push up. We get on our hands and knees. We rock back and forth. We pull up to stand. We're standing, but we're not stable on our feet. We start to toddle, right? We start to toddle across the floor, but we're very unsteady, and boom, we fall. And we have everybody goes through those phases of development. As we continue to develop, we start to be able to walk better. We run. We can go to the fridge, we get something out to eat, all of these things, phases of development, right? We go through all of the things, learning how to get dressed, learning how to write, learning how to read, learning how to do all of this stuff. And then we get into the higher level phases of cognition, which is executive functions. And then we're able to start to do higher level things like maybe cook or do shopping, and all of that kind of stuff. And so then when we're 16 or so, we start to learn how to drive because we can anticipate secondary consequences, etc., etc. So everybody goes through these normal developmental phases. So the functional assessment staging tool is the model of retrogenesis. So where we are at the end, moving backwards, right? So back to your question, Eunice, why do people start to be scared that they will fall under supervision? It's not the under supervision part that you need to pay attention to. It's the fact that they feel scared that they are going to fall. And what happens with that is, as a person is progressing through stages of dementia, they will get to a point where they lose postural stability. Okay, what is postural stability? Postural stability is our ability to feel like we're stable in space. So think back to that child learning up to pull up to stand, right? They're not posturally stable. They have to hold on to something in order to maintain their body against gravity standing. So they hold on to something. For us, we gave our kids a key to hold on to. We held on to the other side, and eventually we would let go, right? And then they were toddling and they were unstable on their feet. So so that when people are starting to go back through these different phases as of retrogenesis of the functional assessment staging tool, they will start to become posturally unstable. They don't feel like they're going to like they're going to be able to hold themselves up against gravity. And so they feel afraid that they're going to fall. And I would too. I mean, if think about it, if when you sit up you don't feel like you can hold yourself up, if you don't feel like you know where your body is in space, that must be very scary. And so be close by, try to be as close as you can. Sometimes what helps if a person cannot use a walker, so people when they're in that phase of postural instability, they can still use a walker, but they cannot use it independently. They literally need you to say, let's pick up, let's push the walker, even steer the walker, all of those kinds of things. Another thing, Eunice, that you can try is handheld assistance. So I'm left-handed, so I always use my left hand on the pants. Pants are great. You can give somebody a wedgie, but pants are great because if you hold on to the back of their pants, if they go down, you've got something that you can hold. A gait belt is better. We use gait belts. If you don't have a gait belt and you're helping somebody at home, they're about $15. I definitely recommend people get a gait belt. They can make a lot of difference. And then you hold their hand on the other side and you walk with them. So I hope that was helpful, Miss Eunice. Throw me a comment in there and let me know. Lizzie says you don't want to go on medication. You just take it day by day. You will do the test. I know you're grieving, but you don't feel depression. Just miss her severely. Thank you for answering your questions. Oh, Lizzie, thank you so much. I love you guys too. And there are some non-medical supplements that can help with mood. I don't have them off of the top of my head, but if you do not want to take medication, Lizzie, maybe what you could do is consider going to a functional medicine doctor. And these type of physicians use natural supplements to help normalize hormones, to help nutritional status, etc. So more and more it is coming out that there are things that we can do to prevent dementia, and people who are in the functional medicine realm, people like Dr. Bredesen and other functional medicine doctors, are starting to work on optimizing our nutritional abilities. So Lizzie, I would recommend maybe reach out to one of them. It could be as simple as just some vitamins, some nutritional deficiencies that could help you. So reach out and do something like that. Just because you don't feel depressed doesn't necessarily mean that you're not depressed. Lack of motivation to do things, lack of interest in your life, all of those things are signs of depression. So you can have depression and not actually know that you have depression. I had postpartum depression after my daughter Estelle was born. It took 2 years for me to figure out I had depression. It was such a slow, gradual process that I never, ever, ever, ever noticed I was depressed. I got up, I did my job, I went to work, I ran a household, I was a mom, I was a wife, I went to church, I did everything normally, and I had depression. So just because you don't feel depressed doesn't mean that you're not depressed, okay? So Lizzie, I would still do the test, and yes, you are actively grieving, and that is very normal to feel down in the dumps. It's not normal for it to not start to lift over time. So just be cautious. Do maybe some nutritional things to help your body get through this grieving process. It can take years. Yes, don't do nothing. Don't wait. It took me 2 years of medication to get my head screwed on straight. The way I finally figured out I had depression, Lizzie, was driving home from work one day. Like I said, I was functioning, totally functional, nothing, not just laying on the couch, not doing anything, getting up, driving to work every single day. And I was driving home from work one day, and I'm like, my husband and my 2-year-old and my 1-year-old, my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old would be better off if I run my car up a tree. And I'm like, ooh, that's not a normal thought. You need to do something. And so at least I had enough of my cognitive presence out there still that said, Lizette, this is not a normal reaction. And it was postpartum depression. So people can have depression after a loved one passes away. So don't ignore it. Hey Moira, great. I'm so glad you're here. Do you have any questions for me, Moira? Does anybody else on here have any questions for me this morning? So we kind of got off on a tangent. I love my tangents. I hope you guys like my tangents. And I'm going to put my glasses on and see if I have a question I can answer here quickly. So Nicole said, "Hi, my father has frontal lobe dementia. He seems to have no emotions. Is this because of the brain?" And so Nicole, hi, welcome. I am so glad you're here. I will tag you in this post later on so you can see the answer to this question. Your father has frontal lobe dementia, and that is a very hard one. I am so very sorry. So let's talk about the frontal lobe real quick, okay? So each part of the brain, and I didn't go do all my tuning up on the body before I did this, but the frontal lobe, Nicole, is the part that actually seats our personality. So way back when, they did a lobectomy through the nose. They stuck a thing up, and like for schizophrenia in the old age, right? So they did all of these different types of things. The frontal lobe, where your frontal lobe is, that is where your personality is. And so when people have frontal lobe dementia, and as that frontal lobe starts to degenerate, it changes their personality. And when you talk to people later on, when you talk to people after their loved one was diagnosed, so people start to change. One of the first things that people can track back is that their personality changed. And that's one of the first signs of dementia, is that somebody's personality changes. And so that is not uncommon at all. It's not that he doesn't have emotions, Miss Nicole. It's that he cannot necessarily show his emotions anymore. Some people with frontal lobe dementia will have a lot of challenging behaviors, and so they show their emotions out in these behaviors. So I hope that was helpful to you. I see there are a couple of questions here. Lori, good morning, Miss Lori. You're renting a house on a lake for a few weeks in June. And we would like to bring my mom, but we are concerned about how the travel will break up her routine. She's in the mid stages, still takes care for herself. You're worried about the 10-hour drive and being in a strange home. She and my father really want to come. Any thoughts on how we can make this successful? Lori, that is a great question. That it really is a great question. And I'm going to speak in generalities, because ultimately this is going to have to be your decision. But I can tell you a few things. It really depends on your loved one. And there's honestly not going to be any way to know other than trying, right? So sometimes you have to try something and see that it didn't work to know that you're not going to do that again. So let me give you a story real quick, okay? You said your mom's in the mid stages and still takes care of herself. My husband and I moved to South Dakota a few years ago for him to pastor a church. And my mom at that point was probably kind of where your mom, what you're describing, can still take care of herself. She could still take her shower. She still can take her showers and be out and about and be in a new routine. And she came to visit us for about 3 weeks. That was the last time that I wanted my mom to kind of go away from the house like that, because it was very difficult for her. But it was still a successful trip. My older daughter flew her there. We, so she had to get in the car, drive to the airport, get on an airplane, be in an airport pre-COVID. Fly with my daughter. My daughter helped her do all of these kinds of things. Come to my house, totally new situation, totally new setup. We have a very structured household. She slid into the routine, and she did okay. I knew she was more confused than she normally was. In the unfamiliar surroundings, but that was okay because we could compensate for that. We took her on a trip. We went and stayed in hotels, and it was a wonderful, wonderful trip with my mom. So, you're going for a few weeks in June, and you want to bring your mom and your dad, so she's going to be with her husband. It will break up her routine, but if you keep a very structured routine in the unstructured, so you take her out of the norm and you put her into a new place, but immediately you stay very routinized. You don't go to bed 9 o'clock one night and 12 o'clock the next. You go, everybody in the household sticks to a very strict routine that will help her. She's with familiar people. You can maybe expect a little bit of a decline in her thinking, but that's not to say that it's not necessarily still not worth being on this trip. You want to still live while you live, right? You can't just live while you can't just not live. So I think since you're going for a few weeks and it's not just overnight, that's the big thing. Your mom's functioning here. When she goes away on this trip and you do all of the right things and the 10-hour drive and the strange house, all of those things are true. I get that. But your mom's functioning here and you go on this trip. She may be down here for a bit. It'll take about 2 to 3 weeks and it should come back up again. Okay? Expect that when you go home again that she might have another little bit of a decline and then 2 or 3 weeks later get back up to her normal abilities. So I, Lori, think that at this point in her dementia that it may still be a doable thing if you structure it correctly. If you guys stay in control and if everybody around her is on the same page regarding that, and that everybody around her is able to compensate for her lack of abilities, okay? So, Diane, let's see if you answered a little bit further back. So, Lori, I hope that was helpful. I'm going to wait for and see if you'll throw out a comment there. But if you do take her on this trip, please let me know how it goes. And if while you're on this trip you have trouble, please message me. My name is Lizette Kluta OT, and I will answer your questions. There are a few primary ways you can get a hold of me. You can email me at Think Different Dementia. You can join my Facebook group at Think Different Dementia. Or you can just message me, like I said. So please let me know, Lori, how it goes. I would love to hear how it goes. And then Miss Diane. Good morning, Diane. I am so glad you're here. Why does your sister have so many stuffed animals that she keeps and that she names and that she keeps adding more? You know, that's a great question. And honestly, I don't know the particular answer to that question. I can guess. I can give a very educated guess. And my educated guess would be that it gives her comfort. And it may be that in her mind, she, like we were talking about earlier on, if you were on earlier on in the program, that people kind of, when you use the functional assessment staging tool, which is a model of retrogenesis, people follow a fairly standardized decline, and as their brain is degenerating, they will kind of move back into certain periods of their life. I would surmise that your sister may feel or think in her head somewhere that she is around the age of, I don't know, how old are we when we collect stuffed animals like that? Anywhere from 5, 6 up to 9, 10. That she why do children do that? They derive comfort from the stuffed animal. And she keeps adding more. My guess would be that at some point or another, this will start to taper down as she's not able to initiate doing it. It may not, as long as she is safe, and there's no particular, you know, it's like one of my colleagues said, you sometimes have to ask yourself the question, so what? So what that she has all these stuffed animals? Is it really make a difference? If it gives her comfort, I would just let her do it. And I hope that was helpful. I don't know that that was a great answer, but it is an answer. Like I said earlier on in the program, if I don't know, I will tell people I don't know. And so that was a very, very good question. And then Lori had another one over on my handy dandy cheat sheet. And if anybody out there has any more questions, please ask them, because that's why I'm here. I'm here to answer your questions. My handy dandy cheat sheet is just in case there's not a question on my comments for me to answer. So Lori said, does anybody's loved ones have hallucinations? So hallucinations, they're a tough one, right? So my husband is having a terrible time with bugs everywhere. They're crawling on him, making him itch. He can't sleep thinking they are in the bed. We're up half the night fighting bugs. Any suggestions? So that is that, Lori, a few things come to my mind. Hallucinations have lots of triggers. There are a lot of reasons why people have hallucinations. But when I read your question, the very first thing that came out in my head is he having some sort of a medication reaction? And the reason I say that is because he feels that they're making him itch. Okay, so is he reacting to a medication? So behavior, we talk about this. Behavior is a person with dementia has lost the ability to communicate something to us. He may not be able to say, I'm itching. Something is making me itch. I think it's my medicine. He just may say the itching feels like bugs. Okay, so behavior. So in this case, Lori, behavior, the hallucination, the itching, the bugs everywhere, they're crawling on him, is his way of trying to communicate to you something's going on. And those things have usually there are three things that we're looking for to be set up perfectly in order for behavior to be better, for the behavior not to be there. One is the caregiver, right? Something going on with the caregiver. We're triggering them by something we say, how we're talking to them, how we're interacting with them, our language we use, our body language, our visual, our facial expressions, all of these things. So the caregiver, the environment, something going on in the environment, and the person themselves. Okay, so Lori, in case of your husband's hallucinations, the very first thing I would recommend that you do is talk to the doctor about him maybe being having some sort of drug interaction, some sort of a reaction to medication, because the itching and the feeling that he is itching, to me, screams drug interaction. A couple of other strategies you could try is try to, and people hate doing this, they hate playing into the hallucination, but play into the hallucination and say to him, maybe fumigate the house, or, open up the bed spread and take something that he might think or is a, I don't know, find an empty can of some sort and put a label on that says bug spray, and spray the bedding. Play into it and see if you can help him with the hallucination. You have to try different things to see. First of all, you got to figure out what's the trigger. Okay, if it's not a drug, is there a lotion you're using? Is there a soap? Did you change soap? All of these extra things. Just think what changed. did something change? And if it's not any of those things, then reach back out to me and we can try to see if there's a way that I can help you with this. Of interesting note, I actually recently have had 2 people that I work with Skills to Care. So Skills to Care is an evidence-based practice that works with the caregivers of people with dementia. You can work with the patient, the person with dementia, but it's really more geared for the care provider to help them identify and problem solve these triggers for behaviors for people with dementia, and then work on being able to modify those. And since we're talking about hallucinations, Lori's question about hallucinations, I thought I would just give these 2 examples. I've had a couple of patients over the last few weeks where where we have been working with them on dementia. Hallucinations. So one of the people that I went into their house, and so this ties into the environmental part of it. I did the first session of Skills to Care, and I'm sitting there and I can barely concentrate, and there's mostly nothing wrong with my brain, right? But when we are paying attention, when we struggle to have paying attention, we're not able to. We, normal people, can focus on one thing at a time, right? So right now I'm sitting here and my internet is doing some weird things, and so I can see that, and I'm trying to pay attention to what I'm doing online, and I'm trying to think about what I want to say, and it's really hard, but I'm still mostly able to do that, right? So I was able to focus on, have sustained attention and focus on this and totally ignore everything else going on around me. Well, at this particular person's house, he has dementia, severe dementia, and he was hallucinating. And as I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the family, I'm barely able to concentrate because there's a ceiling fan going thwap, thwap, thwap. And so I said to them right as I left, I'm like, if you want to do one thing right now today to potentially change his hallucinations, I'd replace the fan. I would get rid of that fan. It's driving me nuts, and I can barely pay attention. And so as his brain is unable to filter through all of this information, and so the next time I came, they had replaced the fan. And when I discharged him from the Skills to Care episode, I asked the family, I said, is he still hallucinating? And they were like, no. The hallucinations almost stopped immediately. His brain was like being overstimulated the whole entire time. So look for something overstimulating the brain in the environment when somebody's hallucinating. Hallucinations are fascinating things, and they can have a variety of different triggers. So I hope, Miss Lori, I hope that helps the other Lori, not this Lori on live right now, that these help. So I'm going to go back to Miss Lori on here. Your dad will make a doctor's appointment for your mom, but then she won't go. How should he convince her that she needs to go to these appointments? So people's word choices are always very interesting to me. How should he convince her? That means to me, when I read the words, how should he convince her that she needs to go to these appointments, is that he's trying to reason with her. So if she is in a moderate phase of dementia, reasoning with her is not necessarily a helpful thing. Okay? So he needs to make her doctor's appointments, and think about it, Lori. I'm going to do a little bit of role playing here, okay? So I'm your dad. Honey, we need to go to the doctor today, or do you want to go? It's your doctor's appointment. Do you want to go? That's one way, right? So when you ask a direct question, do you want to? Then the person has the ability to say no. Do you think you need to go to the doctor? No. Is different than, honey, today is your doctor's appointment. we're going to start getting ready at 8 o'clock, and then we're going to get in the car, and then we're going to go to the doctor, and then we're going to come back home. Or it's also different than just saying it's time for us to go to the doctor. Or if the word doctor is the trigger, right? Convincing her, trying to rationalize, well, you've got to go to the doctor. We need to. Rationalizing with people with dementia never works. Never works. Absolutely never works. So you got to find the trigger, right? So back to the behaviors, right? You've got to find the trigger about what is triggering her about not going to the doctor. Is it what he's saying? Is it the words, using the words, going to the doctor? Is it trying to convince her? Is he rationalizing? So those are some things that you can look at trying to do, okay? I would definitely suggest trying to make it a little bit less confrontational. If saying to her, we're going to the doctor, really bothers her, just say, hey, it's time for us to go for a drive. Or try a couple of other strategies like that. So I hope that was helpful, Miss Lori. I would try to see if you can figure out what the trigger is, and ways that you can do that are as follows. Number one, you can start to make a dementia diary. I recommend people do a dementia diary all the time. What is a dementia diary? It literally, you can buy them. My friend Melissa Strout, on Amazon, you can get Melissa's book. She has a book that she has written to be able to use to diarize behavior. The trick with diarizing behavior is you need to do it when, not necessarily right in the minute the behavior is occurring, because obviously that could be hard, but you want to be able to write down very specifically what's going on. What time of day is it? Who is there? What happened right before? Look at all of the factors. Is it a specific room? Is it specific people? Or is it specific time of day? Is it specific? Is there a specific trigger? Back to my other client, he had a specific trigger at a certain time of day. His daughter came, and she was a bigger person. So he felt safe with her transferring him. She was a trigger for him to start transferring him multiple, I called them Jack in the Boxes. He'd want to go from here to the couch, from the couch to this and this and this, and all over the place, right? So a potential trigger was he saw the couch, it was within his direct line of sight. His butt might have been sore, and he couldn't say my butt is sore. His butt is sore, and so reposition him, maybe move the couch out of his line of vision, all of these different strategies. So a dementia diary, and you want to diarize when things are going badly, what happened, what was the trigger, and then also diarize on the good day, when everything went swimmingly, when it was perfect, when nothing went wrong. You got to write down what was different on those days. Lori, I hope that was helpful to answer your question. Hey, Vince, glad you're here. Charlotte, hi. Why do your loved ones always ask where they are? That's a good question. Repetitive questioning can be for a lot of different reasons. They're feeling insecure. In their, when we talk about the functional assessment staging tool, they in their mind may think that they are 25 years old and should have 3 little rugrats running around, and oh gosh, this isn't my home. I don't live here. This is not the familiar place that I was when I was 25, right? So they just may be asking a question because they got stuck on a loop. They may truly not know where they're at. When you have these type of questions, Miss Charlotte, you could start with the emotion. Start with the emotion behind it. So why would somebody be asking, where am I? Where am I? Are they feeling insecure? So speak to the emotion behind it. Speak to the emotion behind it, right? you can say. It doesn't help saying to them they're home necessarily if they don't think that that's their home. That can increase their anxiety, right? Because they think that they are 25 and they should be living somewhere else. So what you could do is just speak to the emotion behind it. Honey, I love you. Um, try to go into the comfort zone for them and speak to the emotion behind it. Don't try to necessarily say, oh, but you are home. That may increase their anxiety. If it's not coming from an emotional perspective, then we want to try to figure out what's triggering the repetitive questioning. And that's a whole separate conversation. So, Miss Charlotte, message me later on and let me know how it goes, or if you can figure out what the triggers are for your loved one. Vince. Vince says it's better with his wife to just announce what we're doing without presenting choices. Absolutely. Sometimes with people with dementia, the more choices we give them, the more confused they get and the more overstimulated they can get. How do you speak to the emotion? So you want to try to find things that comfort them. What kind of things comforted your loved one, right? So, for example, are they anxious because they feel lost? Can you redirect them and give them something to do? Are they asking questions, repetitive questions, because they're bored? Can you take them and give them an activity? And remember, when you're giving people activities, the reason you're giving them an activity to do is not for the product of the activity. It's not that we want a perfectly folded shirt. It's for the engagement in the activity. So speaking to the emotion, trying to figure out what the emotion is behind it. Are they feeling anxious? Is there anxiety because they cannot express something to you? Are they bored? If they're bored, can you engage them in something to do? There's a lot of different strategies you can try, Charlotte. Just remember, sometimes you have to try lots of different things, and you sometimes literally just have to keep trying things until something works. Try to change one thing at a time. If your loved one is somebody who was a hugger, would it help them if you hugged them? Okay, so if they're not a hugger, or they were a hugger and it makes things worse, then hugging wasn't necessarily the right thing at that time. Can you just touch them on the arm and just try to make them feel secure? So there's a lot of different things. You just have to try. Think about yourself, right? What makes you feel secure? What makes you feel loved? People are different. Some people need touch. Some people need language. Some people need a gift. People are different. So try to, your loved one the best. Try to look and see how you can help them with that. So Vince's answer about the choices are very, very true. Miss Moira, yes, I see why you say that. I know you have vascular dementia, and if your friends or family say for you, do you want to go, or do you want to, you can't make up your mind. Absolutely. So what you want to make sure that what you start to do with people who have difficulty with, so I'm going to give it, I'm sorry, I just rabbited. I'm going to give another example of another client that I've been working with regarding hallucinations, and I went to observe how she was interacting with her mom. And what was interesting is, one of the things was that she said that she and her mom sometimes, got frustrated with her mom. And I went into the room and I had my friend just do what she would normally do with her mom. And it was fascinating because she did not realize that she was doing this, but she asked her mom like 15 questions in the span of 30 seconds. Do you want this book? Do you want that book? Do you want to sit by the window? Do you want your water? Do you want your eyeglasses? Do you want your reading glasses? Do you want this? Do you want that? Do you want this? And I'm like, whoa, you cannot, so much information coming at a person with dementia makes it extremely difficult for them. Extremely difficult. So, a couple of strategies that you can do, that anybody can do with people with dementia, is limit the choices. So, for example, at certain at certain times, a person with a dementia can be given limited choices. So how do we do this? So I'm helping my mom get dressed. Mom, do you want to wear this shirt or this one? Two choices. Do you want to wear this one or this one? No. Okay. Would you like this one or this one? No. Okay. Mom, here, put this on. If she cannot make the decision, then here, Mom, put this on. So other ways of doing it is it's time to go to the bathroom, or it's time for your shower. Do you want to do it now, or do you want to do it after lunch? Two choices. So we're not taking things away from the person with dementia. We are actively engaging them to the ability that they still have by giving them just basic choices, two very basic choices. Adults should be able to make decisions for themselves for as long as they can. And I truly believe people with dementia can still make decisions. We just need to give them limited decisions to make, very structured decisions to make. And never, if you need something to be done, like I think it was Charlotte no, was it Charlotte? Lori that was speaking about her mom not wanting to go to the doctor, right? So if it's something important, it's something you absolutely have to have done, we got to go to the doctor, right? You cannot ask a person with dementia, do you want to? Because what happens when they say no? Like, now I'm up a creek and I don't have a paddle. Right? So when you have a person with dementia, you do not want to say to them, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Yes, I loved that. Throwing a carrot in. After the doctor, we will go to lunch. Or after the doctor, I will take you for a foot massage. Can we wrap you up and take us anywhere we need to, as your help and insight is invaluable? Oh, Moira, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. You know I love doing this for you guys. This is my gift for you. So it's 9 o'clock. This was my my hour-long gift to everybody out here. How you wrap me up and take me anywhere is let me become your consultant. I do this as a business. You can reach me through Lizette Kluta OT. I have a Facebook group called Think Different Dementia, where I do a second one of these. You can just subscribe to my YouTube channel called Think Different Dementia. You can email me at thinkdifferentdementia. I have a website that I'm still working on called thinkdifferentdementia.com. So please reach out to me, guys. So Charlotte says, you recently lost your father. You're the last one I'm going to address still. I'm so sorry for your loss. That must be terribly hard. I still have both my parents. I cannot imagine. I know that must be really hard. And your mother inherited the estate. How do you get your mother to deal with this, and how do you help her to keep what she has inherited? And how do you gain guardianship over her? That is a loaded question. Okay, your mother is the inheritor of the estate, and I understand from your conversation that your mother has dementia. How do you get her to deal with this? Number one, that's a really tough situation to be in. With your mom having dementia, the very first thing, Charlotte, that I would recommend you do is so you have two things going on here. If she does not have a durable power of attorney for medical decisions, or a durable power of attorney for financial or overall decisions, and a durable power of attorney for healthcare decisions, you have to get that done first. If your mom is beyond the stage of that, the only way that you can gain guardianship of your mom is a legal That is a legal battle. That is a legal thing. You have to have two physicians have to declare your mom incompetent to make her decisions. And that is the only way, the best way you can do that is you have to go to an attorney. You need to talk to an attorney about a durable power of attorney for medical decisions, a durable power of attorney for financial decisions. If she is still at a point where they can you can set that up, then maybe you don't have to gain guardianship over her, because then if the physicians say she's not able to make her decisions anymore, boom, you're in, right? If it's beyond that point, Charlotte, then you have to do guardianship, and that's a legal process, and that can take time and money. How do you get her to deal with the estate? Now, if your mom cannot deal with the estate, did your dad have a durable power of attorney, and who is the secondary? So typically, like for us, my mom and dad have a durable power of attorney for decision making. My dad's my mom's, and I am my dad's, because my mom has trouble with her thinking. So I circumvented that little loop. My dad is my mom's, and then I'm secondary under my dad. On my dad's, because my mom should not be making these decisions, I had my dad put me in right after, put me in, and then my sister. So those are ways that you could do it. If you need more help with this, Charlotte, I'd be happy to dialogue with you. Message me. Message me on Lizette Kluta OT. And I've gone over today, but that's okay. Thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, 3 primary ways. Think Different Dementia. My Facebook group, join. If you've not joined, you can subscribe to me on my YouTube channel called Think Different Dementia. You can message me at Lizette Kluta OT. You can email me at Think Different Dementia, and you can go look at my website, Think Different Dementia. Thank you guys for joining me. Last thing I always say on the end of my program is, the Lord bless you and keep you, and thank you for joining me. I am here for you. Reach out, and I will see you guys next Saturday. Bye.